Hello and welcome to Best Binocular Reviews. My name's Jason. Today you join me on what must be said is a beautiful, if somewhat chilly and blustery early autumn's morning here in Berkshire. Today I'm going to be walking along one of my favourite routes, not far from my house, the Kenner and Naven Canal, and just seeing what I can find along the way. With me I'm taking these excellent Genesis XD 10x33 binoculars from Kowa. And along the route I'll be discussing some of the features that I really like about them and perhaps pointing out any features that sort of niggle me about them. Another feature, and possibly a small thing to some people that I really like about these binoculars, is the local diopter ring. To change your diopter setting, you actually have to pull it out, then you can twist it, and then you lock it back into place, meaning that once it's locked in, it can't actually accidentally be moved out of place, putting your binoculars out of correct focus. Something I'd like to speak a little bit about is the focusing on these Kowa binoculars. The first thing to note is that they have a really close near focusing distance of only 1.5 meters. You know, this is right up there with the very best in terms of close focusing binoculars there are, and even competes with binoculars that have been specifically designed for close focusing, things like butterfly binoculars, for example. You know, whilst most people might rightly assume that binoculars are specifically for looking at things far away, sometimes it's quite nice to focus on a flower or an insect or something like a butterfly that's near to you, and really appreciate its beauty through a good quality pair of binoculars like these. And then on top of that, with these binoculars you can go from the near focus. So for example, if you were looking at a butterfly and then the next minute you notice I don't know, an eagle or some swans down in the background, you can go from near focus to infinity with only 1.5 turns of the focusing width. Now, that in my experience of the binoculars that I've reviewed, this is a fairly unique amount of turns. Most binoculars I've looked at either have, it takes one turn of the dial to go from a near focus to infinity, which is quite an aggressive mechanism, which has the advantage of you've been able to go from near to far very quickly. But the downside to that is sometimes fine-tuning can be quite difficult, in that even the slightest movement of the focusing ring moves the focus quite a long way. So the downside is fine-tuning your focus. On the flip side of the coin, a lot of binoculars tend to take you 2 or more turns to go from near to far. Now the advantage of that is that fine-tuning is very good, but on the downside, going from near to far takes that bit longer. It's a small thing, but you never know. You could be, just spot an eagle in the corner of your eye, and have to, by the time you've got to that point, it's flown away, and you'd miss identifying it. The thing to point out is I think with 1.5 turns, I think Kowa have sort of hit the nail on the head, and that it's quite a nice compromise between the aggressive mechanism and being able to fine tune. I've been using these all morning now, and fine tuning has actually been a pleasure as opposed to any sort of difficulty. The tethered objective lens covers on these binoculars are great. If on a day like, if you're moving along, stopping, looking at something and moving along again, like what I'm doing today, what I invariably do with traditional objective lens covers, I either lose them, or to stop me from losing them, I put them in my bag, and then that does leave your lenses exposed whilst you're moving from one place to another. At the very best, this will make them dirtier quicker, meaning you have to clean them more often. Exposing your lenses to possibilities that you can scratch, or you could actually scratch them against something as you're walking along. These, on the other hand, because they're tethered, you're not going to lose them. You get to the point where you want to look at something, you can very quickly open them, look at what you've got to look at, and put them back again, and you're off. I do know that there's some people out there that don't like having to have something hanging down whilst you're looking through your binoculars. With these you can just remove them, put them in your bag if you really don't like them. Fantastic. I often get people writing in asking me about sizes of binoculars. What size of binocular should I get for my particular use? As with most things to do with optics, there are compromises. So mid-sized binoculars, sort of binoculars that have 32 or 33mm objective lenses like these, are for me a sort of ideal compromise between a full-size binocular and then a full compact binocular. If I could go on to explain a little, full-size binoculars, generally binoculars that have 42mm objective lenses, or sometimes larger, 44mm for example. The advantage to those is the fact that because of the large objective lenses, they tend to take in more light than something like this could. This means that the image produced tends to be brighter. It also means that their low light performance they'll outperform these in low light conditions, something that you would find sort of say early morning or late evening, or perhaps as you do sometimes here in the UK, get really bad weather, or indeed actually if you're in a thickly forested area, which is why sometimes birders tend to like a full-size binocular, if you're looking for forest birds or things like that. The downside to a full-size binocular is obviously because of the larger objective lenses, they tend to be heavier and bulkier, sort of harder to carry with you out in the field, but then also it can be harder to put in your luggage and take with you on holiday, for example. On the flip side of the coin, you get a full compact binocular. I've got a pair here actually. Let me just reach down and get it. These are one of my favourite compact binoculars, Steiner and 10 by 26s. The advantage of these is, as you can clearly see, comparing them to the mid-sized binocular, is they are substantially smaller, and when you fold them up, they are possible to put away into your pockets and totally keep out of your way. For someone like me who's using a camera a lot, as well as carrying my binoculars, this can be really useful in that it frees up your hands to do other things when you're not actually using your binoculars. The downside, obviously, as you can see with the objective lens sizes, they're a lot smaller. These will take in a lot less light than even the mid-sized binoculars, making them far less suitable for poor light conditions. You know, things like you find in early morning again and late evening. Basically when most birds are active, as well as when most wildlife is active. So, you know, again, there's a compromise. Then we come back to a mid-sized binocular. This, in many ways, is the ideal compromise between the two, in the fact that you still get quite a lot of the light gathering capability of a full-size binocular, yet it's a far more smaller, manageable size, as well as more lightweight. You know, if you're going on holiday, going on safari or something like that, you know, a mid-sized binocular could be the ideal solution that you're looking for. Well, as the shadows begin to lengthen, it's time for me to start heading back, and I've had a pretty good time today. I've managed to get some, I hope, a decent photographs of some birds. Possibly haven't found any exciting species that I was hoping for. Having also said that, I've had a fantastic time reviewing and testing these Kowa binoculars. I did mention at the start of it that I would try and find some aspects of them, you know, not only focus on the good points, but try and find something that niggled me about them. To be honest, I can't. They are a fantastic pair of binoculars. You know, they price well. They, you know, competing with the very top, they undercut them on price, and performance-wise, they perform as good as any binocular I've ever used. You know, in this class for a mid-sized binocular. Fantastic pair of optics, as bright as you would like. The view through them is crystal clear. There's no colour fringing, and around the edges of the view through them is as sharp as you like. Honestly, a very good pair of binoculars, highly recommended.